Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Brooke Brigham, I'm the attorney.
And I'm Tess Brigham, I'm the therapist.
And today we are going to be talking about the Netflix docuseries, Sean Combs, The Reckoning.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is talking about this. It's the number one show on Netflix right now. And it's a doozy of a docuseries. Mm-hmm. And, this is not at all what I expected. I was kind of dreading watching it because it's like, oh God, 4 hours and more about Diddy. And oh God, what is there left to say? And then
there was a lot left to say.
There was a lot left to say. And this is very different. This is, okay. So there's 4 parts to this. And there's a lot going on, in the media about how this was filmed, who filmed it, why, because there is some footage in the documentary. It's not a lot. It's maybe a day or two and a total of maybe 30 minutes worth of footage where this is, 4, 5, 6 days prior to Sean Combs being arrested and indicted on federal charges. And he was staying in a hotel in Manhattan. And he went to Manhattan because his attorneys were he knew this was coming. Mm-hmm. His attorneys were trying to negotiate a bail deal so that he could just go, get booked, immediately be released on bail, not have to go into actual custody. And so he was willing to put up his home in Miami, his home in Los Angeles, surrender his passports, his children's passports, his whole family's passports. And so that's why he's talking on the phone with his lawyers. It's like the first scene that we see. And so then abruptly it just kind of stops. We don't see much more. We see him talking to Mark Agnifilo, and he's very upset because he feels like, they're not getting out anything positive in the media about him. He makes a good point that, a lot of people, they're not getting their news from CNN or ABC or Fox. They're getting it on TikTok and online on social media, and that they needed to get this message out that, he's just really taking a lot of heat. There's nothing positive or anything being said about him. And so I thought it was interesting because this is attorney-client privilege conversation. I wonder if Mark Agnifilo even knew he was being recorded. But you can argue that he basically waived the privilege because the privilege belongs to Sean Combs. Yes. He waived it by having all these people in the room and a camera on and all this kind of stuff. But Yeah, so he's trying to negotiate this, and then the documentary kind of goes through, the first section is going through his history and whatnot. And then all of a sudden in the second section, we're talking about who killed Biggie and Tupac. And it's like, what's happening here? And as it went along, I realized, I think that this was 2 documentaries that they combined into one. Mm. I think that Netflix was already working on a documentary about Biggie and Tupac because, the guy, Keefe D, who, they say Crip, who killed Tupac, he's currently standing trial for his murder, in Nevada. Mm-hmm. So that's in the news, like that's happening. So I think they were working on a documentary about this and about Tupac and Biggie and the connection and the killings, but they were also simultaneously working on a documentary about Sean Combs, and he was involved with it, and he was going to document, him going through this whole experience. And so I believe that the people who were there filming him were Netflix cameramen.
Okay, what I have no idea, but what I've heard online and what everyone's saying is that Sean Combs hired this independent production company to film him. He was going to do something with this.
That's what people are saying online. There's absolutely no evidence of that.
And that the story is that he didn't pay them, and someone from Netflix or 50 Cent came in and said, "We'll pay you. Can we have the footage?"
That's a theory, but nobody has confirmed that. And in the interview, I watched the full interview with like Robin Roberts and 50 Cent and Alexandra Stapleton, the other producer. And that's not how they present it. They're pretty vague about it, but they basically say that they obtained it legally and it belongs to them. And so that's why when you film something, it's the footage is the property of the camera person.
Yes. So if Netflix, I'm just telling, this is my theory, but that was a Netflix camera person. Netflix was working on a documentary about Sean Combs and this trial and all this, and they decided to abort because for whatever reason, I'm not quite sure. They just decided, you know what, this isn't going to work. We're going to take this and we're going to combine this with this other documentary that we've already been working on and make like one comprehensive documentary. Because it's not like they just in the last year went out and filmed all this stuff about Biggie and Tupac. That's been that's a huge project that's been in the works. Okay.
Because it was only a year ago a little over a year ago that he was arrested. I mean, I don't know. And then they're using 50 Cent basically for credibility because he brings this cultural credibility to the film. So it doesn't look like Netflix is just piling on and exploiting Sean Combs because 50 Cent does have this history of, not liking Diddy. And so it makes sense that he would be involved in something like this. And he's kind of legitimizing it.
Yeah, I can, that for sure. I agree with that. He's happily being used for that purpose. I mean, he's not, he's into this, but even when you hear him talk about it, Robin Roberts is asking him all these questions that he barely knows the answer to in terms of production and, how this came about. He can barely answer questions about it, quite frankly. Okay. I didn't watch the interview. What I thought was interesting was, I was like, oh God, Sean Combs doesn't mind just letting it all hang out right there on camera, your camera crew. Like he basically is talking to his attorney on the phone saying, we got to go. I don't care what country they're from. We got to get someone who's the dirtiest, nastiest person, basically, to help me get my story out there. And then we see this other part where he's signing people's autographs, and then he gets back in the car and he's like, God, I got to take a bath. He's been out in the masses and I got to wipe my hands. I was like, oh, you could tone that down. I mean, I can understand you're out there shaking a lot of hands, like wanting some hand sanitizer, but he really thought he was going to be able to edit this. That's the thing. When he's being filmed, he knows he's being filmed. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm going to do this thing with Netflix. This is going to be my, when I beat this case, we're going to put out this documentary and, he thought he would be able to edit that. He was going to have final edit and whatever. When that time came. So he wasn't worried about, everything that he was saying.
Well, I thought high level, big picture, I thought it was very well done because I too was a little bit like 4 episodes and I, everyone loves it and I heard everything but at the same time I was like, God, how much do we need to dig into things? But I thought it was really well done. I liked the flow of it for sure. And I think that it also gave us things that we hadn't had before, like more of an understanding of Sean Combs's early life, which I really didn't know much about, his relationship with his mother, which is fascinating. These high level East Coast, West Coast things. Obviously everyone knew about Tupac and Biggie and all of this kind of stuff back and forth, but I didn't know all of the intricacies of what happened. So I appreciated that. And then, even the Cassie stuff, even though we feel like we've seen a lot, we know her story. It's like, oh, this is a different perspective. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Yeah, it was very well done. It was very good. Normally, after a couple hours of a 4-hour docuseries, I'm like ready to slit my wrists. Like this one was really compelling and really good. And that's what I'm saying. This didn't just get slapped together in the last year. This has been, especially the East Coast, West Coast section of it, this is a meticulous, rendering of this whole thing. So I know this was already in the works. And then they just smushed these two things together. But so part 1 is, it starts with that scene in the hotel and talking to his lawyer and all of that. And then we get into the history of... Yeah. And there's like 3 primary narrators throughout this. One is Kirk Burroughs, who was one of the co-founders of Bad Boy Records. And then there's Tim Patterson, who was a childhood friend and also was a A&R producer at Bad Boy Records. And then Mark Curry, who was a rapper and also worked at Bad Boy Records. So these guys were, on the inside. They knew everything.
Yeah. Well, because I didn't know much about, like I said, I didn't know much about Sean Combs's life, but it seemed a bit like it seemed like Sean Combs lived under this, cloud of his father and who his father was, or maybe wasn't, or who knows. But it sounds like it was this legacy that his mother decided to keep alive.
Yeah, his father was a gangster, basically,
and was killed.
Was murdered
when Sean was 1, 2, very little, barely knew him, didn't know him at all.
And then his mother Janice, she just sort of picked up the torch and she became a gangster. And she dressed him up in these little, like, someone said, like a Harlem dandy, the hats and the coats, and she groomed him to be part of this hustler lifestyle.
Yep.
And apparently she also beat him.
Yes.
And very badly. Like his friend,
was talking about how, one time he saw her beat him, and the friend was like, I've been beaten before, but that was like, I'd never seen anything like that before.
Well,
and so the planting the seeds of this violence, very early on.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned too at some point, I can't remember what part, where someone says he witnesses Sean Combs hitting his mom, like beating her up. So this is very much right. Like this, she got what she wanted. She built this guy into believing that the only thing to be is a hustler, and grifter, and get yours. Don't worry about anybody else. It's all about you.
Yeah. So. And she also, told him to fight.
Because he didn't want to fight. That was the other thing too.
He was kind of a geek. He was kind of nerdy growing up, and he went to this private, Catholic high school, and then went to Howard University, dropped out when he was 19. And then he sought the hustler lifestyle. It was like, he didn't want to go down that road, and be an accountant or whatever.
Yeah.
He got this internship with Uptown Records, which was this hot recording company at the time, and had signed all the big rappers and stuff, and literally worked his way up to.
Yeah, well, what he did was, I don't have the guy's name. Who's the founder of Uptown?
That's Andre Harrell. Andre Harrell.
Yeah, I mean, his friends say this, that he was like singular focus. Again, I think this is why he's successful at this, which is singular focus and no fear and no. I think this is the other part of it too, is when you've got someone who has such a deep personality disorder, it's almost like they don't have shame. So it's almost like most of us would be like, God, am I going to bother this guy over and over again? Like, let me find another internship, or let me figure this out. It was like, no, he zeroed in on that guy, interned, and then ingratiated himself. Like so much so that when that guy, he moved, Sean had a quote unquote fight with his mom and needed to move in with him, and just moved right in. Like no asking him, no nothing. And so again, it takes that kind of personality to be like, oh, he's moving into a new place, I got to get in there too. And then when he's out of town, I'm going to throw a bunch of parties and throw parties at this house and do this and that. I mean, again, it's this, no conscience. No, like, should I not be trashing this man's house?
Yeah. And he was so obsessed with, so there was this guy, another gangster guy, this Alpo Martinez, and he had this thing he did where he would film women and having sex with them. And he wanted so much to be gangster like this guy who could do anything and be above reproach. And that's when he started filming himself with women, an act that he continued till he, went to jail. His whole life, like that was one of his things. And then would show these films at parties. And one of the women who was suing him, of the 100 lawsuits out there, this woman, Joy Dickerson Neal, who he did this to when she was, young in her 20s or whatever. I mean, he just started. It's so weird. Like, how do you go from being at Howard University to just becoming the most disgusting person and just finding the most disgusting fetishes and habits and stuff, and just doing it, like,
I mean,
with no conscience.
I mean, that's the question, right? Nature versus nurture. Which is this who he is and will be, and his mom just unleashed it? Or was there a time when he could have saved himself and been like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't listen to my mom. Maybe my mom doesn't know everything.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's more about the father. I think that, I can't imagine what it's like to be a man and not have a father or father figure. And so, right, this is your dad. You never had good and bad with this person. You just had, so you revere them.
He didn't even know. He didn't have any memories, I'm sure, of him.
So then this person becomes like the story, the legend, no matter, even though the father probably was not a good person. I think it's that. And I think that became his shining star. I think that he took these things on thinking, oh, this is what hustlers, players do. And then I think he really started to enjoy them. And I think that with like any other addiction, you have to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and getting, so.
Yeah. Well, he was always very violent. They talk about, so the mother of his first son, Justin, her name was Misa. And they talked about that he was just beating her outside of the Uptown Records office and just beating her in the street. I mean, not even attempting to, cover up anything that he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But ironically, what really kind of made him famous was when he did this celebrity basketball game in Harlem and 9 people were trampled to death.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, like that's what kind of got him people knowing, who he was.
Well, one thing that this documentary really pulls the curtain back on is Sean Combs is not a genius mogul. He's not brilliant, and unfortunately, like this is what we've seen with a lot of these billionaires, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs a little bit, many of the men who get all of the accolades are sort of seen as the genius. No, they were just the tyrants.
Right.
That basically controlled other people until that person did what they wanted to do.
Right.
So I never thought that Sean Combs was like a great musician by any means, but, it's interesting to hear these other musicians talk about how shitty he is.
Yeah, his rapping was awful.
His rapping's awful. And then when you really stop and think about the songs that Sean Combs did, and then you think about Tupac, you're like, oh yeah. Tupac was 15 steps ahead of you. Like he was so much better than you. And people did like him more. And he was cute. And he was like, oh, okay. I see this now.
Yeah, no, he was obsessed. Sean was obsessed with Tupac because he wanted to be him. He wanted to be the talent that he was.
Yes.
And
have his gifts.
He was also jealous of Tupac's relationship with Biggie because Sean wanted to be Biggie's best friend, and that just wasn't the case. And Tupac and Biggie were actually friends because they had something in common,
Well, yeah, and I think Sean Combs wanted to I think what happens with him is he sees people that are who he wants to be. He cozies up to them, and if you lean in, it's you're like, this is the worst thing I've ever done, and your whole life gets destroyed. And if you lean out, you're now in trouble.
Yeah,
because Tupac was like, I don't like this guy. I'm sure Tupac was like, what are these videos you're playing? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but he saw something pretty quickly that he did not like about Sean Combs.
Yeah, because he's fake.
Yeah, he's fake. And the other thing too is if you really think about those popular songs like Missing You and I'm trying to think of the other one, the I'm Coming Out. It's like all he really did is take very popular songs that were hits, huge hits. I'm Coming Out, Every Breath You Take. That's the background. And then you
samples.
You get samples, and then you get a beat going, and then you just talk and you rap. But truly nothing he's saying is as dynamic or as interesting as what Tupac, Biggie, Kendrick Lamar, all these people, Eminem, are doing.
Yeah, he doesn't have an original thought.
Yes, that's a good way of saying it. He is not an original thinker. And again, this goes back to because he based his life on somebody else's story. he based his life on the quote unquote story of his father and what his legacy should be. So that's the thing. I mean, I think that Sean Combs probably went to Howard thinking, oh, this is what, this is the first step at me doing this. And he gets there and he realizes like, oh no, I'm going to have to do some hard work. I'm going to actually maybe have to write a paper or two, or I'm going to have to do these things that maybe I don't really want to do. Because for someone like Sean Combs, for someone who is so driven, he is the laziest. Like, he doesn't do anything original. He just steals. He's just,
Yeah.
And I mean, when we get there, we talk about the drugs and all that, but I'm also like, how is this guy still alive? Do you know what I mean? Like 2 weeks of this, like 2-week benders and all this stuff. I'm like, how is he
With
alive?
Ketamine and
pink cocaine and 2 weeks of it in his 50s.
I know.
Not
He's lucky
20s, 50s.
He's lucky to be alive.
I don't know how he has all, you see him bouncing around and like, I don't think that's natural energy. And then you're like, oh shit, yeah, no, it's not.
No. So he at Uptown Records, he was acting like he was in charge, like he was the boss. And so eventually Andre fired him, but he was allowed to take Biggie with him, Christopher Wallace, because he had just signed there and hadn't really done anything yet. So he went with Sean, and then so the West Coast at that point, they were doing very well. They had all the hits. They had NWA, Snoop, Dre, Tupac. And, the East Coast, not so much. So they teamed up with Clive Davis. And I guess Davis funded, Bad Boy Entertainment. And 75% ownership went to Janice and 25% to his friend Kirk, in order to protect him from these lawsuits about the City College deaths. And so that will come back later too.
Yeah, I think that was the first. It was the first time something really truly awful happened that he had a hand in, that he got away with, and he was like, oh wait, this is making me more famous, so let me double down.
Yeah.
Which again, I think that there are certain moments, because you see this from the beginning, that people were seeing red flags very, very early on about this guy and stayed silent. I think that's the other part of it too, is a lot of people stayed silent for a long, long time. And I even that guy, Andre, who is his mentor, you feel a little bit like, wow, you're not revealing stuff. So anyway.
Yeah, I know. In that culture though, I just think that, you just don't
talk.
You just don't talk about it, like, unless you're going to have some public beef, and he had those too, but he could have had a lot more. So that section kind of ends with, setting up this East Coast, West Coast thing, and how, and basically, like they were copying whatever Tupac did. He did that I Get Around video, which was really hot. And so he tried to recreate that with,
he just steals. He just steals.
Poor Biggie, like he really was a victim. Like,
oh God,
like he just was so used by Sean Combs. And then Sean Combs basically gets him killed.
Yeah. He's very weird.
Yeah.
Very weird. Okay. Well, this moves into episode 2, which is all about this East Coast, West Coast hip hop rivalry and the environment, that 1990s hip hop environment of, weapons and bravado and, all of that, what does it mean to be a gangster? And this is also during the time when it's a little confusing, like, because I thought he was with Justin's mom, but then he starts dating J-Lo. A lot of overlap with these women. I mean, and very obvious that Cassie and Kim Porter were in the picture together for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, so Yeah. So, well, there's a lot of gun drama happening
Mhm.
like in this section. So, yeah, the first thing was, so Sean really wanted to work with Tupac. He was really obsessed with him and he wouldn't do it. And so Tupac was in New York and they lured him to I don't know, to some club or something.
No, a recording studio.
To
record with Biggie.
Yeah. And so then when he got there, the elevator opens and someone shoots him like five times. It's a wonder he lived. And they called it a robbery attempt, even though they didn't take his Rolex or anything else. And Tupac knew that it was Sean who set him up. And
but it also made Tupac also really hate Biggie. Like he lumped Biggie and Sean Combs together, because that then spurred on, which now takes a whole new meaning because so many of that song hit him up, which I've known this song and I love this song, but I didn't, when he said, but I fucked your wife, I was like, I just assumed that he was being, and I fucked your wife, and I was like,
yeah,
no, he really did fuck his wife. He did.
Exactly. I thought it was someone else's wife. I didn't know it was Biggie's wife.
Everything that Tupac says in that song is absolutely true. And the best part about it is and he is doing the thing that I think Sean Combs is too scared to do, which is like, come and get me. Like Gavin Newsom, come and get me, tough guy. Look at me go.
Yeah.
But apparently, Tupac slept with Faith Evans, who was Biggie's wife or longtime partner. So it's like, oh shit. And then if you see that hit 'em up video, there's someone in there that kind of looks like Biggie.
Yeah.
And so you're sort of like, oh, okay. But it is, I mean, first off, fuck your bitch and the clique you claim. I mean, he is really pretty brilliant, I have to say. He has great lines.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. So crazy. Yeah. So Puff is getting, bigger and bigger. He's signing all these people, Biggie, Faith Evans, that's, Biggie's wife, Craig Mack, the poor guy.
Oh God, that guy.
He was nominated for a Grammy and was never paid a dime. And that was another thing that I can't believe Sean got away with this for so long, is that these artists never got any money.
No.
They never got paid. They might get an initial advance, but after that, they'd never see a dime. And he would tell them, oh, well, there's no money for you, because he was charging them for studio time. And for him, he was charging them so that he could appear in their videos.
Yes.
Because
whether they wanted them or not.
Right. He had to be in everybody's video. Can't sing, can't dance, but he's going to be in the video and then pay himself.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And like you have to pay for studio time, $95,000, a session. You had 4 sessions. Yeah. I mean, again, it's just padding, he's basically just embezzling from you.
Yeah. It's just a show game, pyramid scheme, whatever it is. He's living this lavish lifestyle, and, the artists are just, not getting anything, but he was jealous of the artist's talent. And I think that was part of why he was like, I'm not going to give you any of this. And it was so weird. He just wanted to be in the limelight, and it was not good.
Yeah. And that whole New York club shooting, there were a couple gun incidents. But that New York club shooting, which has been talked about a lot because J-Lo was there and involved, whatever, what does she know? But basically what Sean Combs figured out he could do is, I just don't ever have to take the blame, Right. So there was a young rapper who was with them that night, Shine, and maybe Shine pulled a gun, but also Sean Combs pulled a gun, but I think it was maybe Sean Combs' bullets that kind of killed this person. And, I don't know, but Shine spent 10 years in prison and Sean Combs just walks along. And I think it's back to, didn't get caught for the basketball thing. You get away with this. You're stealing all this money from everyone and you're getting away with it. No one can do anything about it. And basically he just, I mean, literally on the backs of all these people. And what's happening also, I think that's interesting right now is I think it was over the weekend that Taylor Swift documentary was dropped, like End of an Era. I think that's what it's called. This 6-part series where she talks about the Era tours. And so people are kind of revisiting these moments that are big. And just about, you watch someone like Taylor Swift who gave away almost $200 million in bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 6-figure bonuses I read somewhere, I know the truck drivers got 100,000. I read somewhere that each of her backup dancers got 750,000.
I believe it.
Life change. I mean, but money that changed all these people's lives. And it's just a little bit like, she too was a billionaire.
Right.
She too
still
made a lot of money. Yeah. She too was a billionaire. And she too, like, she took her cats on tour. Like, that's a baller. Like, that you got to be a billionaire to do that. But it's like, but she's also paying people. It's, I mean, just to see the differences. And it's like,
well, yeah, because Sean treated his artists so terribly, what happened? So Suge Knight, who was, in charge of the West Coast crew,
Death Row
Records, he took care of his artists. And so they were going to start a Death Row East.
Yes.
On the East Coast. And so everybody came to New York City for these Source Awards. And this is right at the time when they announced this Death Row East. And people are beefing from the podium, going back and forth, talking smack about East Coast, West Coast. And when you say, everyone knows who you're talking about, you don't even have to say the name. They say East Coast. So you're talking about Biggie and Sean. West Coast is everybody else. And so then the shooting at the club, there were several shootings.
Yeah.
This is not the J-Lo one. There was then another one in Atlanta. Because also Sean had another one of his strange fetishes was he always liked to try to take away other artists or other people's side pieces or girlfriends. He was obsessed with that. So he went after Suge's side piece, and that was a big mistake.
Who was that?
Suge Knight.
No. Who was his girlfriend?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think they said her name.
All right.
So that led to another shooting at a club, and this guy, where this guy got killed. And that they said that was the official start of the East Coast, West Coast war, was this shooting, because I can't remember which side this guy Jake got shot. I can't remember what side he was on, but anyway, then I didn't realize this. I thought this was interesting. So then Tupac gets convicted of sexual assault in New York, and he doesn't have money to bail out. And so Suge Knight visits him in jail, and he signs him to Death Row Records and gives him $1 million for bail and some other advances. And then he got out, and then he did that All Eyes on Me album.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when that was the hit 'em up,
Yeah.
Was on
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Do we know much about this sexual assault that Tupac was? I mean, he never went to trial. He died before.
No, he died before. Yeah.
But we don't know like what the circumstances about that are.
No,
because that's a little like, I love Tupac, but I'm not okay with that.
I have no idea what the details are on that.
Yeah.
If someone knows, let us know.
Again, I just want to keep saying it's like, it's layered. It's so layered. Like he's getting away with this stuff. And I think the other part of it too is, listen, if he was just ripping these people off, I think that this wouldn't have happened. It's the proximity to fame. It's the promise of fame and connection. So he now becomes the most important person. He now has all this power. And so people are willing to look the other way, to compromise their principles, to do things that they don't normally wouldn't do for the fame, for the dream and desire to, because you've been singing in your childhood bedroom your whole life and now you have this opportunity to do it. You know, the thing that he was smart about is he knew what he needed to be and to do to get people to give him what he wanted and keep doing it over and over.
Well, it seemed like it was just fear and intimidation.
Yeah, I mean, basically, but he knew,
threats, threats of violence, actual violence.
Yes.
I think
guns, bringing guns into rooms.
Having guns. All of it. And you're right. I don't know how he went for so long.
The media portrayed him as this baller.
They exalted him.
Yes.
This businessman, this successful, and Black people looked up to him like, oh my gosh, look at this guy. He's made all this money.
Yeah.
He's he's dating J-Lo. He's in these celebrity circles. And, and I think a lot of it was a fear of, we don't want to tear him down because then that's people are just going to be like, oh, well, yeah, he's just another thug, just another gangster, whatever.
Because it's
complicated.
Yeah, because he's a self-made. I mean, I think one of his former backup singers or whomever said it's like he was what everyone wanted to be, which is building Black wealth, building Black billionaires, and so, okay, I'm just going to look away a bit. I mean, I think when it came to the violence in these gun charges, I think that's where the media looked away a lot of it. The sex stuff never came out until recently, but it's also law enforcement. Where was law enforcement? You're just going to let him use shine and hang him up straight. You're not actually going to investigate, but it seemed a little bit like, no, this is what he told us is going to happen. They just
want to solve cases.
Yeah.
That's their number one goal, is to solve a case and close a case. And if someone comes forward and says, I did it, great.
Yeah.
Saves us a lot of time and energy.
Yes.
Psych Legal Pop will be right back after these messages.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
It's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, so now we are coming to the pinnacle of the East Coast, West Coast. This is in Las Vegas, September 1996. The Mike Tyson fight is there. And previously there was an incident where, I don't know, someone was trying to get at one of those death row records, diamond chains. And there was a guy who I think was a Crip or associated with the Crips. Yeah, he was. He ripped the chain off of one of these guys that was with Suge. And anyway, they spot him that night at the fight, and
he's with Suge and Tupac, and he tells Tupac that's them.
Mhm.
And it's this guy Orlando Anderson from the Southside Crips, and he's associated with Sean. And this big, huge fight breaks out, and Tupac ends up getting shot and killed that night.
Mhm.
But there was it had nothing to do with this fight or anything. It was just that all these people had converged on Las Vegas
Mhm.
because prior to this, a plan had already been made
Yes.
to kill. It was supposed to be Tupac and Suge Knight were supposed to be
Mhm.
killed that night. And so then we hear from this guy, this police officer who's on this task force to try to solve Tupac's murder. And he tells the story of this guy, Keefe D, who was a drug dealer, and his nephew was this guy, Orlando Anderson. They're part of the Southside Crips. And so he gets busted for drugs, and he's looking at a life sentence, and they think he has information about
Mhm.
all of this. So they do a proffer session,
Mhm.
which is where they talk to him, and he tells them stuff in hopes of getting a lighter sentence.
Yes.
And it's not actually immunity. It's just that it means that they can't, whatever you say in these interviews, they can't use in court. So he talks about how he had several conversations with Sean Combs, and they were introduced by another gangster, a guy named Zip from New York.
Mhm.
And Sean had told a room full of Crips, he said that he'd give them anything for Tupac and Suge's heads. And then again, later in a deli in Los Angeles, he told the same group of people to get rid of those guys. And they're like, okay, well, we want $1 million.
Mhm.
And Sean said, okay.
Mhm.
Spoiler alert, they never got paid.
Yeah. He doesn't even pay the people that do the gangster stuff.
No.
He pays no one. That's the other part that I don't understand is why would anyone ever, if you know he's never going to pay you, wouldn't you just get as far away from him as you could? I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, mind you,
this is the coercion and the control. I mean, because I don't want to say, why didn't Cassie leave or because we hear from some jurors from the case. And I was like, oh, these jurors really don't get it, but okay. I think that's that other part too, where it's a little bit like, I think he's a master at making people think like, I will get paid, or whatever he gives them is enough to keep them around.
Right. Or he says, oh yeah, I'm going to pay you, and it has some excuse. And
why don't I take you to this event? Because I think that's the other part of it too, is I think you look at a lot of these guys who made no money from all of their time and effort building Bad Boy, building this business. And I think that was the other part of it too, was, well, come with me to this thing. Come with me to that thing. He pays for some clothes. He pays for some alcohol, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're living this life. You feel like things are good.
Yeah. So. Well, and you have to remember, all this is coming from some very shady, uncredible people.
Mm.
However, this man, Keefe D, I'm not sure his real name, but he is currently being tried for Tupac's murder.
Mm-hmm.
So the federal government seems to think that, they have enough to go forward with this. So, yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's really, really crazy. And so, yeah, so I think they got a call. Did they say they got a call from Sean after this fight broke out, and they said, they're there? I think they got the go ahead to go find him.
Because I think that Sean had been plotting to kill Tupac, and it just so happened, hey, we're all in Vegas together.
Right.
This was the Mike Tyson fight that just ended like within the first round. So everyone's all hyped up. You just spent a bunch of money to watch a 5-minute fight. And so I think it was one of those like, oh, okay, convenient, 2 birds, 1 stone kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And convenience. And then I was like, oh, okay, great. We'll just go do it now. But again, they stupidly should have gotten half their money up front because you didn't get paid anything.
Yeah. Also, you see that picture of Suge and Tupac, minutes before he got killed. And they're just driving around, windows down, driving around Vegas. They even got stopped by the police right before this happened because the music was too loud or something. I mean, I don't know. There was no security. Where is security? Like now everyone has so much security and I'm amazed at how these people they're just out there wandering around with their weapons and doing their thing. And and then because they didn't get Suge, they negotiated some deal where, well, we'll give you 500,000. We're not going to give you $1 million, but they never got that either.
They didn't get that.
They didn't get that. They got nothing. I think they offered him something like $29,000 in the end. And then
I don't think he got that.
No, he didn't. But that was the final offer. So let's see. Oh, I think Puff did eventually give the money to that guy Zip, but he kept it. He never
Zip didn't give it over. So
PPD.
Again, because he's a shyster too.
Yeah.
They're all criminals.
So now this Keefe D is set to stand trial in 2026. He claims that his proffer was made under duress. So now he's taking it all back, basically.
Okay.
That's his defense.
But they can't prosecute him for anything he said in that proffer, right? So they have enough evidence beyond that. Beyond that recording. So what does it matter if the proffer was under duress?
Right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was under duress or not because it can't go anywhere. That's not helping you.
Yeah, I don't understand this.
That's not helping your case.
Yeah, what are they gonna if they can't? Because he basically confessed in that proffer, but maybe that confession led to some other independent evidence that they are using. I'm not really sure. To brush up on that.
And apparently, I guess there's not enough evidence to connect Sean Combs to it. So.
Probably not without Keefe D's testimony. Unless, there are other people who could come forward that, because other people knew about this and the discussion about the payments. I think this guy Zip is dead. He's not available to testify.
Because that was always one of the jokes about the Tupac murder, which is he was killed on the Sunset. He was killed on the Las Vegas Strip, like in front of millions, like tons of people.
Right. And no one saw anything.
No one saw anything. And so, I do think there are a lot of people. Now, I think people saw him. I don't think they necessarily knew, that's Keefe D from the Southside Crips. Like, I think that people saw the guy, but I think there were other people there that probably knew who that guy was.
Well, yeah. So. And Suge Knight probably got to look at the killer. And they asked Suge Knight in this interview, they showed a clip of, if you knew who killed Tupac, would you tell the police? And he's like, hell no.
Yeah.
Because he's a gangster. He's not gonna do that. He's gonna keep his mouth shut. He's not gonna implicate anybody or anything anyway.
Yes.
So, and then just 6 months later, in March of 1997, Sean and Biggie went to LA to film a video. And so at this point, the East Coast, West Coast thing is on high alert. And
yes,
each coast knows you better not come to the other coast because there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
But somehow Sean is just taking Biggie out there and parading him around.
And he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go.
He was scared. He knew his life was in danger. And they were on their way to go to London the next day. And, he just wants to get out of LA. And then Sean cancels that trip. Well, the night before was the Soul Train Awards, and Biggie was booed when he came out. And anyway, so Sean cancels the London trip so that he can have a party over here on enemy territory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was leaving the party. I think it was leaving the party. Biggie is shot in a car going down Wilshire. And, they say that he led him to his death.
Yeah, he did. Now, so the other thing was that there's that then very famous song, Missing You. That's the Every Breath You Take, Missing You. And so one of the theories has always been, and this wasn't in the documentary, but I think I saw this on a TikTok or something where they were saying, isn't it fascinating how quickly all of that came about? That many people
he wrote it before.
Yeah, before he wrote it before, and I don't know. I don't know if it was like, I'm going to kill some people, so I'm just going to write the song Missing You and whenever it makes sense for me to do that. But that's when, and all of this is when all these other artists and many people on TikTok started making fun of him, because there's these scenes of him in all white, hopping around the stage, singing, and, everyone's ripping on his dancing and everyone's ripping on the whole part of it. And here he is on stage like, oh my God, I miss my best friend. While you now have killed him and you're going to throw him this lavish funeral party, everything, but you're not going to pick up the tab. You're going to make Biggie pick up the tab.
Yeah.
So basically, he charged Biggie for his goddamn funeral.
Yeah. Yeah. That whole thing. And Sting is there singing. And yeah. Sean is prancing around like Cody Brown, like dancing on this. I mean, he was just going off. Like this was his show, This is all, he made this all about him.
Yeah. Because the people with the real talent, I mean, Sting can sing. He was great. He's got this whole choir behind him. They can sing. But it's just, he is just bouncing around like, I've just done a couple lines of this pink cocaine and I'm going to bounce around. But yeah, it's when you really stand back and look at it, you're like, yeah, this is embarrassing.
He's a big tool.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. So, okay. So then part 3, it's called Official Girl, talking about the women in his life. And so, he, I don't think he ever adopted Quincy. So Quincy is the son of Kim Porter and I'll Be Sure. And he was raised, in Sean's home when Kim was married to him, and I'll Be Sure had a lot of problems. And that's why I sort of think he might have adopted him, but I'm not sure. But anyway,
Yeah. So Kim Porter was the receptionist. I didn't know that. She was the receptionist at the first, what was that? Uptown Music.
Uptown Records.
Uptown Records. Yeah. And he knew. And she was dating their biggest artist at the time, I'll Be Sure. And so Sean Combs just zeroed in on Kim, and she's obviously very beautiful. But the other thing was that I'll Be Sure what, good looking guy, smooth, very popular, so he wants what he has. And so I don't know they don't really get into how eventually he wears Kim down. and I didn't realize they had never been married. I always thought they had been married. But so Sean Combs has never been married.
No, I don't think so. The first one was Misa.
That's right. Who was the ex of who? Of someone also big.
Someone at Uptown Records, I think. Yeah, he just stole women from other people. But yeah, he wouldn't give her any money for their son. This is Justin's mother. And he was, starting to hook up with Kim. And I think he beat both of them.
Yeah.
It's violent with both of them. And that's part of his grooming process, as we saw with Cassie.
And it does come out that Justin did participate in these freak-offs.
Yeah.
Justin was a part of it, which is really sad.
That's disgusting. Yeah, there was someone, I forget who it was, that it was their job to go out and recruit women to bring back to the hotel for Sean and Justin.
Ugh.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Sorry. So Kim kind of is the wifey role, right? She's like the woman.
She's the wife.
She's the wife. Yeah. So she is the one that goes to, the red carpet things and all of that kind of stuff. She's the one that has the kids. And it sounds like Kim Porter was very clear or knew what was going on. And it also kind of sounds like maybe they had a very separate lives for a long, you know what I mean? Just, it feels a little bit like she was maybe out somewhere else in New York and he was doing his own thing. And maybe he came home and maybe he didn't.
I find that hard to believe, given how controlling he is. And, he had a baby. So his oldest child with Kim, Christian, and then there's the twin girls. But I think in between those two, he had a baby with someone else. And he has a daughter who I think is just a few years older than the twins. I can't remember her name or her mom's name. Sorry. But, and then he had a baby also when I think he was still with Kim with another woman, and her name is Love. Or maybe Kim had already died by then. And, she died under these very mysterious circumstances.
And that was one of the things I thought would be in this documentary.
Yeah.
Because I'll Be Sure, who obviously very much loved Kim and cared about her, has always been the one to be like, he killed her. I know he killed her. I know he did something. And I would not put it past him that he killed her just so he didn't have to pay her child support. Just because he had 4 kids with her. Like he had to pay a hefty amount every month to her for his children. And so I think he probably figured, we'll just get rid of her. She doesn't want me anymore. So, she rejected me. So I'm going to,
she also knew a lot of secrets.
Yes, I'm sure that too.
She knew a lot of things that could really ruin him. I think that's probably more what he was afraid of. And, I'll Be Sure thinks that Sean poisoned him because he got very, very, again, something real mysterious where he got very, very sick, went into like liver failure and organ failure. And I think I'm not making this up. And he thinks that Sean had something to do with him being poisoned.
I believe it.
Yeah. I mean, anything could be true, but and then we see, we already talked about like J-Lo. That was weird. And do you think he ever put hands on her? I think we would have heard about that.
I think we would have heard about it. I think that there are I think these women are put in different categories because he meets J-Lo when she's, at the beginning of her success, but she's still a successful person. So he's not gonna do anything to her, but Cassie, that's a different story. Right. She's 19 and she doesn't have the power. I think it's based on power. If he has more power over you, he is going to control you. So it doesn't matter. So if you have more power over him, he is going to use you to get whatever it is that he could get, because dating J-Lo did give him some more cred.
Yeah. It legitimized him. Yeah. Because all of a sudden he's going to the Oscars and the whatever,
And she wears the famous Versace dress, that famous dress that everyone, with him. And so now you're on every cover and every time everyone talks about that dress, you're there. So I mean, it's this interesting thing where you go from episode 2, which is all about this public violence, to episode 3, which is like about this private torture. Of Cassie. And we know Cassie's story, but goddamn, she was so cut. She was beautiful. She still is. She's still stunning, but you look at her and that face and that innocence and that 19-year-old, and you're just like, you deserved so much better than this.
Yeah. And to see how young she really was. I mean, she
19
looked like a baby in this footage at 19. And like, she's from Connecticut, she's not like from Brooklyn or something. I mean, she's just a deer in headlights. And so she's dating this guy, Ryan Leslie, and he's an artist of some sort. And again, Sean sees her. She's with another guy. He wants her. So he basically takes her. And then he promised her a 10-album deal.
Yeah. He signed her to a 10-album deal, which is unheard of.
I don't even think one album ever came out. I think maybe one single was released or something. But we know the story. He took her in and was paying all her bills and promising her this, record recording career and all of that. But then there's also the Aubrey O'Day story. So she was on the MTV show Making the Band, the group Danity Kane. And
Apparently this Making the Band was the only black show on MTV at the time.
Yeah, I wasn't really, this was not my era.
It's not my era either.
So, because we were already, I think this is like a millennial thing. Yeah, I didn't realize how big that show was. And I didn't realize how many bands came out of it. They were mentioning, well, this band and this band and this band. I'm like, oh, I didn't know any of these bands.
Never really went anywhere. I don't
but people seem to know them. People seem to know or heard of them from the show.
The show. But he was very abusive. They had to do all these crazy things, like walk to Brooklyn in the middle of the night and get him a donut or, whatever it was.
A peach pie or something.
It looked like a horrible show, quite frankly. But he zoomed in on her for some reason. And then he started to try to groom her. And he was like sending her dick pics and disgusting emails and,
Yeah, and he's such a charmer too. He sends it like no warm up, nothing. He sends her a dick pic, and then he's telling her all the stuff he wants to do to her. And then at the end, he's like, "Okay, well then I'm going to finish masturbating, and I'm going to go." You're just like, "Oh, you are smooth."
Oh yeah, and then I think in the middle of it, he's like, "You should come over and fuck me" or something like that. It's like, oh my god. Well, and then he fired her from the band or the show
6 months later
because she wouldn't fuck him. And he'd moved on to some new project. But also then it comes out later that and she was informed by somebody, can't remember who it was. Someone told her that she saw she didn't tell her directly. Someone came forward and said that she was at one of these parties at his house one night, and she opened up a bedroom door, and she saw Aubrey O'Day being sexually assaulted by Sean and another guy, and that she looked like she was like out of it, like inebriated, maybe even unconscious. I don't know. And Aubrey has no recollection of that at all.
Zero.
And that tracks because we all know and I guess this is a thing too, a la Bill Cosby, is drugging people.
Yeah. Well, that's the other part of it too, which is you don't have like some men, it's all about, right, saying the words, what can I do? But like this guy, I'm sure once he was rejected by Aubrey, he was a little bit like, well, I'm going to show her, I'm going to drug her, and assault her. I mean, it's a little bit of this. You have zero work. It's like, you don't need consent, right? I'm not going to you don't give me consent this way. Watch this. I'm going to drug you. And just how he saw, and that's just really how he saw women, even though he has daughters. This is how he saw women, as something to be coerced, something to be controlled, something to abuse, something to be violent, like something to just...
Something he was entitled to.
Yes, entitled
and
to. That's a good way to say it.
If he couldn't get it the easy way, then he's going to get it the hard way. Like, So Kim was still around when Cassie came into the picture. And that's when they said Kim was the wife, but Cassie was the wifey. And she didn't know about her at first. But then, they show that thing where like he's on the red carpet taking pictures with Kim, and Kim and Cassie sort of pass each other. And I mean, she knows about it, and I don't know. Very strange. But I mean, Kim had these children, and trying to get divorced from Sean Combs would be, well, no, they were never really married, or trying to get anything out of him. Let's just say that. Probably be difficult.
Yeah. Hey.
God,
it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Worse and worse.
All right. Well, let's go to the last part, which is sort of the reckoning. This is the reckoning, the lawsuits and how everything starts to fall down.
Yeah. So Cassie files her lawsuit in November of 2023. And accuses him of
rape and all kinds of other things. And he settles with her the next day.
For $33 million.
The next day.
And I think, I mean, obviously, because that woman, Joy Neal,
Joy Dickerson Neal.
Yeah, she had her incident with Combs was a good, 15, 20 years earlier.
20 years ago, yeah.
But it sounds like because I think a lot of times people think that it was like, oh, he settled with Cassie quickly and then all these people jumped on the bandwagon. I think it was like, no, the law opened up. And I think that Joy Wright sees Cassie, doesn't even care about that, but goes, oh, this is my chance. Here I go. To expose this. And
yeah, they did this thing in New York where they extended the statute of limitations but you had to file within a year. But anything that was outside of the statute of limitations, any kind of sexual assault, this was sort of a response to, Me Too and all of that. And
Bill Cosby let's list all Harvey Weinstein and all these other creepers.
So she files a lawsuit. The woman, Dawn Richards, who was one of his artists,
Danity Kane,
the lawsuit. A lot of people did. So
it goes on and on and on.
Yeah. And this also this started the whole avalanche of, this investigation into him for human trafficking and other things. And this is when they raided his homes, and there were like over 100 civil cases filed, and there's still 77 pending. So the last section we're now focusing on, this was sort of a hodgepodge of stuff.
It's kind of like wrapping up the other stuff. What did you think about the jurors that they interviewed? I was just like, oh dear
disgusting.
God. I mean,
this is why juries are frightening to me. They just missed any kind of nuance.
Yeah.
Everything's very black and white. So this one juror, she's a Black woman, juror 160. She says that domestic violence wasn't one of the charges. Okay, well, yeah, we know that, but that's not what this evidence was about. It was to show the racketeering, the controlling, the trafficking, the means, the patterns,
Well, the other thing too is she says, well, I grew up in that era. I watched all the seasons of Making the Band. I remember, and she was the one that said, I know this group and this group and this group, all the people. How did she get in? Like, you don't feel if it already feels like you have a little bit of a a favorable bias towards him. It was the other guy. It was that guy. I don't know his name. He was I don't know what juror number he was.
75.
I felt like really missed the mark. And this is part of this is part of the problem of these cases. And I do wonder if the prosecution maybe didn't do a good enough job of really setting this up. That maybe they did. But the whole thing, the whole coercive control, because his argument was, well, why would she go back? If she didn't like it, why would she go back? Why would she go back? It's like, dumbass, are you not listening? He's putting guns on the table. He owns everything. He controls everything. He's dangling a 10 album contract. Like
he said that they're just two people in love. and the next day after the fight, they're texting, they're going out. And then he says, well, you can't have it both ways. You can't have this lavish lifestyle and all these nice things and not compete. Yeah. He said, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
I mean,
which basically what he's saying is, in his mind, he's thinking, oh, she had this really nice lifestyle, and maybe they would get in fights, and maybe he would cheat or whatever, and she would get upset, and now she's just doing that. But it's like, no. And then
that's the price you pay.
That's the price you pay. And the other thing is, this happened, I think, in the third episode, where they interview one of the sex workers that was a longtime partner. 18 to 20 hours sessions. 18 to 20 hours.
No woman wants to do that.
God.
No woman wants to do that.
No. they might want to spend 18 to 20 hours in bed with a man, like talking and cuddling and watching movies and eating and doing all that other kind of stuff, and maybe having sex part of it. But 18 hours. And this guy, I mean, the sex worker, I'm like, how are you
How are
doing
you
this, right?
performing?
Yes.
Yeah.
How?
I guess they took breaks. They took breaks for pops and Viagra, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was all fueled by drugs. I mean, I think that's, I think Cassie was, out of her, I think she was so goddamn high, out of her mind, barely there, probably, body in the room, mind somewhere else. And I think this guy, I don't know what he was thinking, but
yeah, no, these jurors are frightening. And another thing that the woman said was that during the trial, like someone would say something and she would nod and she'd look over and she'd see that Sean is nodding. And then sometimes he would even look at the jury, when something didn't make sense to him and give this kind of look. And she would give the same look back. And she's like she's connecting. They're connecting. She even said that, like their thoughts were aligned, This is the opposite of what you should be doing as a juror. And it's so disturbing how dumb these people are.
Yeah. And it's so frustrating that people always go back to, this is how I would handle this. This is what I would do. Right. And you take no consideration of someone from another country, someone of another gender, someone of a different sexuality. So, you know what I mean? Not one. So I think that guy was Indian, that juror. So it's like, I get it. Your lived circumstances, maybe you have, but this woman's lived, she did. And it's just the fact that it's like, what is wrong? I mean, do people not get that other people have different lived experiences? Like that?
No, apparently not.
Everyone has their own experience and their own perception, and they do things based on that.
They also both said that they didn't believe Capricorn Clark, who was
that he kidnapped her.
Yeah, she was his assistant for like 8 years, and the first day of work, he told her that he would kill her if she wronged him. And because she's best friends with Shug's, the mother of one of Shug's children, and he thought he was afraid that, she was going to wrong him. And so he threatened to kill her. And I think the producer, someone said, well, why did you continue working for him? I mean, that's pretty scary. Like, this is your first day of work and you get this kind of a threat. And she talked about how, she was used to dealing with really difficult people because her mother was a drug addict and alcoholic, and she was around these people her whole life. And so this kind of didn't faze her.
No, this is how she's been shown love or importance or chaos. I mean, people go to what is comfortable to them. So someone else, that's the thing. Every single person that kept in and stuck with it there was something that was attached to, the dream, something that they were wanting desperately. So, that whole thing about, what it means to be a survivor, the personal cost of telling the truth, how much people will doubt you. What does Capricorn have to gain by going in court and telling everyone this guy scared her half to death and kidnapped her? And I believe the story because based on everything else we've heard about this man, pretty much makes sense. This was part of his MO. Do you know what I mean? Like, she is describing something was very much part of the MO. And this is all about Cassie and this guy, Kid Cudi, and him being jealous of Cassie. I mean, him being jealous of Kid Cudi.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was cheating with people, but I guess she wasn't allowed to.
No, that Capricorn told her that. No. Capricorn said, you're not allowed to do that. That's not how this works. But it goes back to that same thing of everyone can go, oh yeah, because we've seen a video of him just kicking the shit out of Cassie and dragging her by her hair and doing all this stuff. And it's almost like that juror. It's like, well, he wasn't being convicted for for domestic violence. It's like, no, he was being convicted for something even more. Domestic violence is the grounding, but it's like, if people can't see something with their two goddamn eyes, they also don't believe it. They also don't believe that that is true, even if you have several people saying the same thing. That's the other part of it. If you've got 20 different viewpoints, I can get that. But you've got people where there's through lines to everything, you know?
Yeah. And then we have to talk about this guy, Rodney Jones.
Yes. Oh God.
Little Rod.
Yes. I remember when this lawsuit came out.
Yeah. He's one of the lawsuits. He's suing for, a couple different things. He was hired to be the producer of that Love album.
Mm-hmm, the most recent album.
He spent, I don't know, what was it? Like almost 2 years, working with, Sean, and he also worked with Justin Bieber on a song that he was doing had something to do with Sean. And, you know, he was traveling with him. He was going everywhere with him, not getting paid, but being promised that, you know, at some point you're going to get paid.
$250,000. That's what he promised this guy.
Right.
He promised him $250,000. And I'm sure that guy was like, okay, I'll be down here for a couple months. That's totally worth it. And then he's there for a year plus.
Yeah. And, you know, he's kind of like traveling around with him and kind of whining and dining him a lot. But then things really got dark with, he starts grooming him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said in his lawsuit, he said that he believes he was drugged and sexually assaulted because he would wake up in bed. Sometimes there'd be another woman in his bed. Sometimes Puff would be in his bed.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he woke up and he was sore and didn't know what had happened to him. And he went to the chief of staff, this woman, they called her KK. Of course, she did nothing. And then he never, ever got paid for all that time. And, you know, he was hoping this would be a successful album and he would, you know, maybe get nominated for an award. Like he was putting all his eggs in this basket. And again, Sean Combs is just using him, just flat out using people like they are just nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really sad.
The other guy, what's his name? Kirk.
Oh, he was sexually assaulting Kirk, his friend.
So his friend, who he gave 25% of Bad Boy to,
made him give it back.
But this is the guy who there would be no Bad Boy without that guy.
Yeah, he did everything. He ran the whole company.
He ran the whole thing. And I'm sure that there was always believing that, I'm sure he had a salary, but I'm sure believing that I have 25% of this. This is my stake. There's going to be a payoff of all of this in the end. And we hear about this and we hear about the lawsuit, and apparently his lawsuit didn't go anywhere at the time. And then it comes out in the last episode where he admits that stuff had happened between him and Sean Combs, that Sean Combs, that apparently, I guess he was there for the parties trying to break things up, and maybe, I don't know but it sounds like he was assaulted by Combs as well.
Yeah, he said he was, but I think it was more those assaults. I don't think he was drugging him and assaulting him. I think that he was talking Kirk into it, and Kirk was semi-compliant. I mean, I don't want to say he consented because he says he was sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
But it was just a fucked up relationship where he's just too tied in with him. And it's almost like he would do anything that he asked of him, anything that he wanted. And that was really sad to hear that.
Because I think of anyone, he and Cassie, I think, are the ones that suffered the most. It just feels like he suffered
for years and years and years.
And the thing is that he became homeless. He had no money. Like, he has nothing. I don't think he was suing to try to get something out of him, because Sean Combs walks in one day with a gun and says, I need the other 25%. He tries to stand up for himself. It's back and forth. And, Combs is not going to let it go. And now he's waving it in your face. And so he signs it over, hoping for the best. And of course, it's all gone.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a bat. Like, I don't know. He came in with a baseball bat. But yeah, I mean, that, yeah. And then he fires him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
I mean, I just, the trail of destruction that this man has left in just, his, he's only 56 or something. Mm-hmm. Just the trail of destruction, the lives that he has ruined, the people who are dead because of him, all of it. Like this, him going to prison for 50 months.
Is nothing.
It's nothing. Like this is he going to be held to account for any of this other stuff ever?
I don't know.
I mean, there's no statute of limitations on murder. So,
yeah, I mean, and in some ways, like that, we've seen this story in some way, shape, or form, different ways, which is, accountability always seems to come decades after the damage is done. Mm-hmm. And this is a bit of a problem because these institutions do not hold people accountable. And I'm sorry, but the entertainment business, they reward the results, what they see, album sales, this sales, that sales. That means you're successful. We never look at the ethics. And how are they treating people? How are they doing things? And so that's the problem is that if you are in it, it's hard to see exactly what is happening and what the end road is going to be. You're hopefully, it's very easy to get caught into it. And I also think the other thing that people aren't saying is that, like, Making of the Band was a great example of this. Of like, now you've got a bunch of young people. Like, you're not dealing with Tupac anymore, or Biggie, or someone who's more established that knows what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. You're dealing with a 19-year-old, an 18-year-old who has been their dream, and you just give them a giant contract and make them sign their lives away. And all of them signed it, even though they said it was a horrible deal.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is people will do a lot just, for fame.
Yeah. And I also think there's this false narrative a lot of times when it comes to, which is, it's true that in the entertainment business, yes, there's a lot of gatekeepers, and yes, it's this thing that a lot of people want. But I also think there's this false narrative that, okay, that this is what I have to do to become famous. This is what I'm going to have to do. Walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. These are the tasks that I need to do. Oh, I need to go to this party. Oh, I need to kiss this guy. Oh, I need to maybe have sex with this person. Like, I don't see accountants doing this. I mean, that's the other part of it too. I think that the entertainment business has always been wrapped up in this thing of, you're
expected to really to
go above and beyond in many ways. Yeah. If that's truly what you want. And I'm sorry, I do think there are very famous actresses out there right now who probably did sleep with someone that we just don't know about, and they never came forward. Mm-hmm. And again, if you consented to it, I don't have an issue with it, but I'm saying that this is part of the problem. So it's just not, these industries are not regulated enough. It's just, and I think that's the other part of it too, is that he had this gangster. If he was this straight-laced guy, he wouldn't be able to get away with this. Like, the world would have an issue, but it was almost a little bit like typical, oh, bad boy. That typical male, like, oh, kind of attitude.
Well, look, if he's going around beating up people, shooting people, having people killed, then people are going to be afraid of you, and they are going to do what you want them to do. If you say, hey, you need to do this, because then people are afraid of you. It's like you're Tony Soprano or something. I mean, it's like, well, and that's the whole. That's the method.
Yeah, and what people don't get is they're not cruel to you in the beginning. They're great to you in the beginning. Love, love, love. We saw how he treated Cassie in the beginning. I'm sure, Cassie, I'm sure it was all love. 10 album love, 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 love. Now you now are under my, I own you. You live with me. You have no other money or no other means of making money. And I'm going to dangle this in front of you. And I'm not going to beat the crap out of you the first time. I'm going to maybe slap you and then apologize. Like, I'm sorry, abuse it's never an isolated instance. It's a pattern that's sustained over time, and it's created by systems. And God damn it.
God.
What are we going to do about Sean Combs? I don't want to refer to him as Puffy or P. Diddy. You're just Sean just your regular Sean fucking Combs.
Yeah. I wonder what's going to happen to him. I don't know if he's already, I don't even know if he still has money, or I think, I have no idea.
50.
I'm so tired of this guy. But no, 50 Cent's a good guy. He's had his past and whatever, but that
was for survival.
Yeah, he's just happy to be. He's happy to be associated with anything that's going to help further drag Sean Combs down.
But there's all these jokes now of like, got to be more like 50 Cent in 2026, like let your pettiness run wild. And I mean, him buying up the first 4 rows of Ja Rule's concert so there would be no one in it, that's petty. I'm going to give you that. But him saying, okay, I'm going to lend my, however it came about, I'm going to lend my name, lend my stuff. I'm going to promote this, all of these things, and I'm going to speak truth to power is not petty. And our year started, everyone keeps pointing back to Kendrick Lamar and the Super Bowl and how that was petty. It's like, no, him looking at the camera, say Drake, that's petty. But him getting in front of the world and in front of 127 million people and showing a visual example of how Black people have been treated in this country, that's not petty. After DEI, Black History Month is canceled, and here you got this big game in the middle of February.
Yeah, with all these white people.
With all these white people and the president and all these other people. And what? He's petty because he's going to use this not to shove anything in anyone's face, but to just like, if you get it, you get it. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just sick of people calling these men petty. They're not being petty. They're speaking truth to power.
Who's calling them petty?
Well, that's the whole joke. It's more of this joke about on TikTok where, the year began with Kendrick and it's ending with 50 Cent. And it's just like, no, this is what these men need to be doing. This is what they're artists, and they have big platforms, and this is what they're doing, exactly what they need to be doing.
Yeah. Well, look, people have always used whatever platform they have to
say what they want to say.
To do that. Yeah. I mean, Sean Combs was adding nothing to society.
Yeah.
He was taking from society. So we're just pointing out the fact that he's a criminal and a monster, quite frankly.
And that doesn't mean you're petty.
He shouldn't be roaming around free. We'll see what happens. But
yeah, I mean, I think he'll do his 50 months. And then, I think lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. I don't think anyone's going to want to touch him. I don't think anyone's going to want to touch him. No. So I think that basically all the money will run out. I think he will always live a nice lifestyle, but I think he's thinking he's going to come out for a big comeback. And I think the reckoning is going to be him realizing that no one wants anything to do with him.
Nobody wants it. No one wants
to get anywhere near you. Nobody trusts you. And you have no way of making more money, new money. And everyone's watching you too. Like you're being, it's not exactly like everything's going to be watched. And you've got about 100 lawsuits.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I don't know how many fans are still out there. I mean, after the verdict, when he was acquitted of the 2 big counts, they showed people outside celebrating, but that's just a handful of people who were kind of, fanatics who are out there. But I really wonder, I really don't know, because I'm not in the section of TikTok of people.
Apparently I am.
who were supporting this. No, but people who not.
Oh, supporting it. No, I'm not there.
People who would be supporting it. So I'm sure there is a section of people out there who still support him.
But that's not enough.
There always is, you know, the people who still think OJ didn't do it and that kind of stuff. You know, there's always people who, like
those groups are small.
Few.
Those groups are small, and the media is not part of it, and the industry is not part of it. Do you know what I mean? Like OJ,
right. the people who count.
You know, OJ didn't star in any more movies or TV shows or commercials.
Yeah, no one's going to want to work with him.
Yeah.
You know, no one's going to want to do anything with him.
That whole thing with Ciroc, I mean, you know, basically promote this thing. And all he did was talk about it. And yeah, he got this huge bonus. It's like, no Ciroc, no label is going to get anywhere near him.
No.
Nobody wants Sean John clothes. Nobody wants any of this at all.
Yeah. Good riddance.
Yes.
Good riddance, Sean Combs.
Yes. But apparently he spent a bunch of money. I think he spent like $1,000 to bring in food for Thanksgiving. So I'm like, good. At least be nice to these people.
Well, they're your new friends.
Yeah, they're your new friends. And listen, maybe some of them will want to do some freaky deaky stuff with you. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh.
I would like to see you in there forever. But I do wonder about his safety. If why not? If you're going to be in there for a long, long time, wouldn't someone want to get that kind of cred to off him?
Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on in there, but I think he'll be fine and he'll get out. And I don't know what kind of a life he's going to have when he gets out, but it's not going to be like it was. And
oh no,
you know, it's done.
Yep.
So anyway, great documentary.
Very well done. Whether 50 did it or not, it was all good. Netflix 50, whoever made it happen, very good. Yeah. Very well done.
They've been working on this for a while, so you can tell. Okay, so thanks so much for joining us. If you want more content from us, we have a Patreon. We do a weekly bonus episode for our first tier, and you also get all of the shows ad-free. Our second tier, you get all of that plus a monthly true crime bonus just for Patreon and a monthly Ask Us Anything. And you can also support us by subscribing to the podcast, giving us a review, 5-star review if you think we deserve it. And we're on social media. You can connect with us that way as well. And we will see you next time.
Yes.
Thank
everyone. You. Bye.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey guys, welcome to Giggly Squad, a place where we make fun of everything, but most importantly, ourselves. I'm Paige DeSorbo. I'm Hannah Berner. Welcome to the squad. Giggly Squad started on Summer House when we were giggling during an inappropriate time. But of course, we can't be managed. So we decided to start this podcast to continue giggling. We will make fun of pop culture news, we're watching, fashion trends, pep talks where we give advice, mental health moments, and games and guests. Listen to Giggly Squad on Acast or wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.